All right, this is Allison Lawson, Diet Tech with Onondaga County Office for Aging in Syracuse, New York. Pray it off, continuing our talk about bone health. So I talked a little bit about the negatives and shared some significant, somewhat scary statistics with you, but I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, so now we're going to talk about the positives and the things that we can change. So the things that we can change are our diet. We can do better to get all the nutrients that are good for bone health. Sometimes we can change our medications. We can talk to our doctor about altering dosages or switching medications or going off of medications to help our bone health. Quitting smoking. Smoking is bad for you in a multitude of ways. So if you are a smoker, you're going to want to quit smoking for various reasons. It does affect your bone health. Alcohol consumption as well, similar to smoking, not so good for us. It affects our bone health. Physical activity. We can increase the amount of physical activity we can do, and we can do activity that is good for bone health. I'm going to talk about the types of activity that are good for bone health in a little bit. Our posture is important, which is why we're doing the posture check. That can help decrease your risk for osteoporosis, and maintaining a healthy body weight. So if you are overweight or obese, that is more weight and more pressure that you're putting on your skeleton that you have to carry around with you all day. That puts stress on your bones. So that has an impact on your bone health as well. And now I'm going to really get into the meat of this presentation, and that is nutrients for bone health. So as Ellen said, I'm a diet tech. I have a background in nutrition, and this is what I like to talk about the most. So the most important nutrients for bone health are calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, potassium, vitamin C, vitamin K, and zinc. So calcium and vitamin D, I'm sure that you've heard a lot about. Those are kind of like the big two that everybody talks about when they're talking about bone health. I do have a slide here called Nutrients for Bone Health, and that lists all the nutrients that I just went over, and it gives you a little bit of information about each one. So I have, what I included were the RDA, which is the recommended daily allowance. That is about how much of each nutrient you should be getting every day. I put for the age 51 to 70, I work for the Office for Aging. I'm always thinking about that age group, so that's why I put that down here. And then I listed the amount for men and women, because for some nutrients it's the same and for some it's different. So that's something that you can go over and think about. And then I put why it's important. So we're going to start with calcium. I said earlier that bones are mostly made up of proteins and minerals. So calcium is a mineral, and it is the main mineral in your bones. So it's really important to get enough of it because that's mostly what our bones are. Some great sources of calcium are dairy. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that. So things like milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, all that stuff. But ice cream in moderation.
I'm reading for my health.
But dairy is not the only source of calcium. We can also find calcium in leafy greens. So that's things like spinach, kale, collard greens, broccoli, all that good stuff. We can also find it in fish with bones. So that'd be like sardines and salmon, where you would consume the bone. Just like our bones are mostly calcium, those bones are mostly calcium, so when we consume those, we're getting that as well. Now, vitamin D. Vitamin D is important because it is what we call a cofactor for the absorption of calcium. So that means it binds to calcium and helps your body absorb it better. So it's really important to get both of those together. That's why a lot of times when you see fortified foods or supplements, you get vitamin D and calcium together. Like for example, I know they do fortified orange juice that has calcium and vitamin D in it. That's because they work together, and your body absorbs calcium much easier if there's vitamin D attached to it. So our best source of vitamin D is the sunlight. It's also known as the sunshine vitamin. A lot of people in our area are deficient in vitamin D, especially when we get into the winter months. So If you're not getting enough from the sunlight, you're going to want to get some from other food sources. Those are kind of rare. Really, your best bet is sunlight. There aren't a ton of food sources that have natural vitamin D. Some are sardines and eggs, okay? But a lot of times food companies will fortify their food with vitamin D. So things like breakfast cereals, a lot of times are fortified. Milk is fortified with vitamins A, D, and it has calcium as well. Like I said, orange juice. So you can get fortified foods. And then if you're not getting enough from the sunlight, natural food sources, fortified food sources, you can take a supplement. And they have different types of supplements. You can get a high dose prescription from your doctor or over the counter. The next nutrient we're going to talk about is magnesium. So that is another mineral, just like calcium, that makes up bones. Good sources of magnesium are grains. So wheat, barley, bulgur, oats, all those good grains, those whole grains that we tell you to eat. It's not just fiber and protein that they have, it's also magnesium, which is good for bones. Other sources are avocados. Those have healthy fats and magnesium. More greens like spinach and kale, and beans. Black beans, pinto beans, navy beans, all different kinds of beans. Our next nutrient is potassium. Again, another mineral. Now this is a little different from calcium and magnesium. This is important because it helps neutralize acids that can deplete other minerals in our bones. So there's acid in our blood and in our body, and if we're not balanced with that acid can deplete minerals from our bones. Think about like if you leave a bike outside for months and it rains and there's a little bit of acid in that rain, that bike is going to rust. Okay, so think about that's kind of like what's happening to your bones if we have too much acid in our bodies. So what potassium does is it neutralizes that acid so it doesn't attack our bones in that way. Potassium is also good for muscles and heart health. Good sources of potassium are potatoes. Potatoes are an excellent source of potassium. I think potatoes kind of get a bad rap. They're not a bad food. They are low calorie, good source of fiber, potassium, and zinc, no fat. I think they get a bad rap because they're usually turned into French fries and other things, and that's what makes them less nutritious. But roasted potatoes, baked potatoes, those are great to eat and excellent source of potassium. Other good sources of potassium are bananas, tomatoes, spinach, beans, and orange juice. So there's a lot of different things that you can eat to get potassium. The next nutrient I'm going to talk about is vitamin C. Vitamin C is important because it makes collagen. So collagen is a protein, and like I said a couple times, our bones are made up of mostly proteins and minerals. So collagen is the most abundant protein in our bones. So it's really important to get vitamin C so that it can help synthesize collagen and keep our bones strong. Good sources of vitamin C are citrus fruits, oranges, lemons, grapefruit, orange juice. Berries like strawberries are an excellent source of vitamin C. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, there's a lot of things that are good sources of vitamin C. Vitamin C is also good for immune health, which is important this time of year. It's flu season, so got to keep our immune system strong. The next nutrient is vitamin K. So that's another one that supports proteins that strengthen bones. So that's why that one's important. Good sources of vitamin K are broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and asparagus. And the last nutrient we're going to talk about is zinc. That one is another mineral. It's what we call a trace mineral, so it's something you don't need a whole lot of. And again, this is essential for collagen synthesis. So it works with vitamin C to make collagen, which is a protein in our bones. Good sources of zinc are dairy, eggs, fish, oysters, and legumes. So things like beans, peas, and nuts. Some other things that I didn't put on here but that are also important are protein. So again, bones are mostly made up of protein. I didn't include that because most people in America get enough or more than enough protein on a daily basis. It's not something we're usually deficient in. So it's not usually an issue that we need to address in regards to bone health, but it is important because our bones are made up of protein. And also calorie consumption. Like I said before, maintaining a healthy body weight is really important because we don't want to carry around extra weight that puts pressure on our bones. So we want to make sure we're not consuming too many calories so we don't gain weight, so we don't put that pressure on our bones. Okay?
We're going to stop there, Allison.
All right.